All right. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 23rd, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Yarmouth Community and Economic Development Committee is being conducted via remote participation. All votes during this meeting will need to be conducted by roll call. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Public participation will be permitted by allowing members of the public to join this meeting via Zoom or via the telephone. And Mr. Chairman, if you can just take a roll call vote to enter into a meeting quorum, we can begin.
Steve, are you here?
Here.
All right. John, Jack, excuse me. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Ken, are you here?
I am here.
Mary, are you here?
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, so counting, looking around, and I'm here, Peter Smith. So we have a quorum. So we call the meeting to order. Want to put the agenda up so we can see it, Kyle? I didn't print it off, so I'm a little bit. I think you just froze. You just froze.
So you froze, Peter.
Oh, there we go. Drive-in site event space contract discussion and possible vote. I believe that Ms. Williams is going to give us some explanation.
Well, I think this is actually related to the sound study that Kyle's been working on. I think we're looking for some type of approval from you guys to move forward with that. And I believe the proposal's in your packet.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted there. I was trying to cue this. I was trying to cue this up for you guys. So, not to step on Kathy's toes, but she's kind of here more for support if needed. So, we have $9,850 that you guys have in the Drive-In Site account that was previously apportioned for the Fifth Element contract, if you guys recall.
Yeah.
Town staff did work with Fifth Element to kind of try to arrive at the point where we'd be getting the inputs that were needed in order to provide the necessary information to Beta, who's also, working on the design contract for the event space. And it really we worked with them back and forth over the course of a few months, and it became evident that it really just wasn't a right fit, especially with them being in a different country and this being kind of time sensitive, needing to get this done. It just really weren't the right fit. And what we really need is the sound aspect to be able to properly design the event space, which is what Beta will be doing. So we need that sound input in order to be able to bring it to Beta and have them design the event space. So we went out and Mary gave us a name of a sound guy. He was too busy, so he actually referred us to Reuter Associates. So this gentleman unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but he was, happy to answer any, questions if you guys had any. But he gave us a good proposal that town staff felt would achieve what we needed in order to, advance drive-in site event space planning. So it would be kind of in a couple step process. So first they would model the sound propagation using a computer model. This number one is kind of what we really need to have done as soon as possible in a time sensitive manner in order to get going with the Beta event space design. So they could do this as soon as the contract is signed, come down and do it. Obviously task 2 would involve them actually being here for events. So that would probably take place later in the season. If you guys approved this work and went with the go ahead, they would kind of do it first with the model and then would assess the noise levels of an actual event going on. So we, as town staff, we felt that this was a very good proposal in terms of getting us to where we need to go with drive-in site. You guys do have money in the bank that would cover this. Like I said, you guys have that $9,850 that was supposed to be for the Fifth Element contract that could now be utilized for this. And I don't know if Kathy wanted to add anything, if I misspoke on any areas.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that the task 2 is to monitor existing background decibel levels in the neighborhoods,
Yeah.
not to come out when there's actually an event to monitor that. We have had lots of back and forth emails with Eric, and we do appreciate that he would probably be able to turn this around fairly quickly. but emphasizing to him that what we're hoping to get out of task number 1 is the ideal location for the stage, and then the layout of the array systems, so that it will adequately cover the site for a concert, but also not be having excessive sound levels within the neighborhood. So as part of that, we would get some type of aerial plan showing that, or a little sketch showing that, and also having the results through a Zoom meeting with you guys, so you would be able to hear that directly from him.
Thank you for that, Kathy. Sorry about that. I misspoke.
Kathy, I've got a question, and I think you just hit on it. He's also going to measure the current sounds that are in the neighborhood, like including the Route 28 noise that carries down to there, ocean noise, wind noise, and stuff. Because I hate to find out that the ambient noise down there is 80 decibels, and a concert is 90 decibels, and the people are complaining about the noise difference, and I say, no, your ambient noise is always there. Is that something they're going to cover?
Correct. I mean, that's part of that task too, and we're hoping to do it as late in the season as possible to get the maximum amount of background noise, because we want it to be reflective of what would actually be happening during an event. So when we have more Route 28 traffic, when the cicadas are going, and that type of thing, in order to identify what the background levels are, that would be similar to the background levels during an event.
Oh, okay. Monitoring the existing levels of approximately 1 week. Okay. Yeah, I did read that, but I just wanted to confirm that.
Peter, can I just ask one question?
Yep.
I've actually used this company before. My first is a statement. And when I was my former life with Davenport, we had used them for some permitting issues. And they're very professional, did a great report. So I highly recommend them on that standpoint. Just looking at their pricing schedule, though.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question? I was going, I'm
Jack,
trying to figure,
Jack, if you could hold on, because Ken was actually speaking, and I'll recognize you next, okay?
sorry, yep.
That's all
That's
right.
okay, Jack. Just my only question that I have for Kyle or Kathy is their pricing. I was just doing some quick math on it. They're charging the exact same price per hour they charged me about 5 years ago. So that's actually a positive. But the travel and instrumentation, $1,600. They're coming out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. If you do the math, it's 6.5 hours of travel time, unless you're coming by horse and buggy. I guess my only question, Kath, is can we push back a little bit just to save a few bucks and say $1,600 of travel and instrumentation? They own the instruments, and the travel time out of Portsmouth doesn't take 6.5 hours to drive back and forth, using their $250 an hour as a pricing schedule. Other than that, I think it's a great proposal. So
We can certainly ask them about that. I don't know. I mean, they may owe the instrumentation, but sometimes they actually charge out for it because these instruments might be expensive. So there might be an actual hourly rate for them. But we can check in on that.
Yeah, maybe we can
just-
ask for a breakdown of it more so.
yeah, just see if hey, is there an opportunity to save a couple bucks? That's all.
Yep.
Right. I think we need a motion, to get, I'm sorry,
Jack.
Steve?
No, Jack wanted to go first.
Jack?
No, I had a question about where the responsibility lies in dealing with these vendors for the drive-in site. I mean, the drive-in site committee, and we are we working side by side, or are we working with them? I know we're supplying some funds for them, but I wasn't sure where the final responsibility goes for making a decision on these things.
Oh, I would say that, they know that we were looking into a sound study. So the DISAC is aware of that. And I just think that because it's coming from Tourism and Revenue Preservation Funds, it makes sense for you guys to authorize it. I think the DISAC's kind of relying on staff with regard to the scope.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Steve?
So just a couple of questions. One, I don't know who can answer this, but does the Board of Selectmen know we're going ahead and doing this?
The sound study or
Yes,
the
yes.
the drive-in? Maybe not specifically the sound study. but they know that we're moving forward with the design. At least the town administrator, assistant town administrator does. We've been working very closely with Bob Lawton on finalizing the contract with Beta, knowing that we need this sound study in order to identify the stage location.
Okay. So long as the acting administrator is aware of it, I just didn't want to get out there too far and had someone say, hey, we didn't know anything about this. So
Yeah, good point.
I'm assuming because he knows it, the Board of Selectmen knows it as well. I would be asking to keep the money as is and maybe up to type of thing, because they might come back to us and say, we need to move money around because we might ask them to do something different. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. The other thing I just want to know, what type of recommendations are they going to be giving to us?
I'm hoping they're going to be giving us recommendations. This is my conversations with them with regard to the optimum stage location and then the type of line array system and location that would cover the site, as well as, like I said, not having an excessive noise within the neighborhood.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
Um,
Good. Thank you.
Right. Kathy, I got one more question. When you're designing a sound system and figuring out the sound, are you trying to cover the entire site? You're trying to cover so 100 people can hear it, 200 people can hear it, 1,000 people can hear it?
I think he's going to have to identify the area where the concert goers would be, and that's the area that you would want to kind of cover. I think it's going to be a little bit iterative. He may try something a little bit bigger and finds that the noise in the neighborhoods are excessive, and then so maybe he's moved some things around.
To go back to Steve's question, have the selectmen given you any indication of the size that they want there in terms of people being there?
We've tried, I think Bob Lawton and the DISAC met with and discussed this with the Board of Selectmen, and there wasn't an extensive amount of input for that. But Bob has worked up and is working up a draft solicitation to send out to people who might be interested in using it. And that's kind of where some of those things would be identified.
Yeah, I don't want to throw cold water on it, but Steve's got a really good point. We'd hate to spend all this money and suddenly the selectmen say, oh, well, we really don't want to do that.
Oh, I don't think that they have indicated in any way that they don't want to have concerts there. I don't think that's happened at all.
Yeah, the discussion is really around this summer.
Right.
It's going to be used as an event space going forward.
Good point, Cal.
Okay. I think, Mary, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, first of all, Kathy and Kyle did a great job. Reuters has got a great reputation from what I can find, so glad you guys found them. Kathy, will they give you the option of possibly 2 separate locations for stages? Because some discussion has come up that maybe a larger stage for some events and maybe a smaller stage for a different event might be something that comes up depending on the size of the event. Is that any discussion about that?
There hasn't been any discussion about that, but I like what Steve says is keeping the up to the 9,850. So if we get some feedback from that first task and we're not getting what we want, or we think that, oh no, we want you to go a little bit further and identify some other things, we have some flexibility in the budget to do that.
Okay. It might just be good to have, hey, could we possibly consider 2 separate stage locations? Because, right now it sounds like it could be open up to any size event, and we just don't know what we might get for offers once that RFP goes out there.
True.
So, good job.
Jack, I'm sorry. Did you have a question, Jack?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. I think we need a motion to nix the Fifth Element contract and then reapply it to the other side. So is someone willing to make the initial motion to get rid of the Fifth Element contract?
So you want 2 motions then?
Yeah, I think we need 2 motions. Don't you agree, Kyle?
Sure, that might be a cleaner way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So a motion to eliminate or terminate the contract with Fifth Element.
I'll second that.
Okay, Steve made the motion, Jack seconded it. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. Steve,
Yes.
Jack? I didn't hear anything from Jack. I think he's.
Yes,
Ken,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes,
Peter, yes. So that motion carries. So the next one is to do, as Steve suggested, and Steve, you're gonna make the motion to,
So make a motion to fund up to $9,500 for Reuters to initiate and complete a sound study for the drive-in site.
I'll
Just
second.
to note, the amount was $9,850.
$9,850. Thank you.
I'll second
okay, there's a motion and there's a second. Steve
that
made the
motion.
Motion, Jack seconded it. Any questions? Hearing none. Steve,
Aye, yes.
Jack,
Yes,
Ken,
Yes.
Mary,
yes.
Peter, yes. Motion carries.
Kathy, do you know what the time frame is?
He made it sound like if we can get the contract to him, it's like a couple weeks that he could do it. So the sooner the better, because it would help, inform some of the proposals that we get.
Oh,
for the
perfect.
site.
Sounds good.
Great.
And I'll reach out to him tomorrow morning on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kath. Thank- Good work.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye-bye. Gills.
All right, so the only other item on your agenda is the CDBG goal discussion. So we presented this a couple meetings ago, and your guys' comment was to add action items onto it.
Mhm.
I took a stab at doing that, but I wanted to run it past you guys and see if I'm on the right track, or, basically just present it to you for your comments. But
Does this all fall on you, Kyle?
what'd you say?
Does this all fall on you,
In terms of what?
getting the work done?
Oh, all these goals? I mean,
Yeah,
it
I'm
falls
just
on,
curious.
yeah, I mean, a lot of this is like committee stuff, like, the Chamber of Commerce marketing quarterly updates, that kind of stuff. Yeah, but that's my job. I'm here to help you guys.
No, I understand that, but usually, it's nice when committee can take on some of the action steps for you. So that's why I'm just bringing it up, because Steve's brought that up before as well, so.
Yeah, maybe ask the question another way, Mary. Kyle, can you do this? Let me rephrase it. Last meeting, you indicated you spend a lot of time, which I think is fantastic that you're doing, a lot of outreach to businesses. I think that's great, and all the work that goes along with that, and it does generate additional work for you.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and knowing that this committee, I think I can speak for everyone, likes you to do that. Do you have enough time to do that and these action items as you have identified we are looking at reviewing now in a fiscal year?
I might not be able to make them as much of a priority as I'd like, but if we go through them, like, oversee tourism funds, I do that on a monthly basis, giving you guys the updates on that. It's kind of for you guys whether or not you want to talk about, changing up the, doing stuff like incentivizing property beautification. And we talked about, exploring the blight removal program. Those are kind of action items for you guys to figure out exactly how you'd want to pivot the preservation fund and whatnot. Special events, you guys have talked about inviting P-Town into a future meeting. I can certainly handle that, inviting them to a future meeting, and then it would kind of be up to you guys to actually have the discussions with them to figure out how we want to change it. So I would say, a lot of these are the committee's action items, not just me.
Right.
Right, but you're the guy, you're the team you're the man that's gonna carry it out for us.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think we're on point. The only other question I have is are these, I believe they are, but you know it better than I, wish Joanne was here. Are they tying in with what she's doing, the work that she's doing on the master plan?
On like the visioning and whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean,
Yes.
that hasn't really come to a conclusion, and they haven't like presented their reports yet. So I would say we would probably want to revisit these once that's released and presented, to make sure of that.
Yeah.
Peter,
Yes, sir.
Steve just stole my thunder because that's exactly what I was going to ask, was about the visioning plan.
Right.
But to take it one step further than that, as that's rolled out, I think that this is right on the right track, and absolutely appreciate everything Kyle does to help us with the action items. But I really, there's no way, these have been our goals since, a couple of years ago too. I think one of the things that I'd like to see us do is when we get the whole committee together, if that's possible, to get everybody in one meeting, is to go through these and prioritize and really kind of set not only these are our goals, but what's the most important goal that we want to try and get accomplished this year, or the top 3 goals, because there's no way going through this whole list we're going to get them all done in 1 year. That's for sure. But there's some stuff that we know that we spend more time on than we probably should, and there's other stuff that we're probably not spending enough time on. So, I've been saying for a little while now that we really just need to dedicate one of our upcoming meetings specific to this and see how we can assist Kyle from these action items.
Yep.
And prioritize this whole entire goal set.
Yep.
Yeah, and Kyle, if I can just make a note on one of these where you're under assist with town streamlining event process.
Yep.
And the need to develop a special event guide.
Yep.
Ken will remember this when he was on my board of directors 6 years ago, that the chamber developed a 10-page packet for a special events guide that is still sitting in a file cabinet drawer.
Okay.
So we've got the meats of that started.
I gotcha.
So, maybe that's something you want to take a look at.
For sure. I didn't even know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'll need a lot of updating, but it'll be great to have a template to go off
The
of.
framework, there was a lot of individuals, Kyle, that worked on that framework too. So
Yes,
We have it electronically that we can send it to you when you're ready.
please do whenever you can.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be good if we could use a lot of the studies and stuff that have been done in the past. But when we were meeting in that exotic back room in town hall, it used to be lined with studies that were done and put on the shelf, and nothing ever was done with them. That's just my rant for the day.
Yep.
Right. Compile a list of town-owned properties that could be potentially used for commercial purposes. Work with land disposition committee when they progress to this point. Now, I've been told that I'm on the land disposition committee. We have never met. I don't know anybody else who's on the committee.
You're not on the committee, Peter.
Oh, I'm not on the committee.
Has been
I thought I was.
As a quick update on that,
I'll volunteer for that one.
as a quick update on that, the land disposition committee is actually meeting next week to review kind of one of the last requests that the town has had. So the first step with the land disposition committee was to review the requests that the town had received. And now we're hopefully going to start transitioning into being able to work up, a list of commercial properties. So it's kind of a public facing list, so that kind of working to the end.
So have they met, Kyle?
Yeah, they've met. I've had 3 meetings so far.
Oh,
Okay.
excellent.
Who's the
Excellent.
chair?
Rick Bishop's chair, Jim Saban's vice chair.
Okay. Should we invite Rick at some future meeting to one of our meetings?
Sure, yeah.
I think that'd be warranted.
Rick just had surgery, so he may not be able to come to a meeting for a little bit.
Jim would love to be there.
We
Jim
can
would
get
love to be
somebody
here.
in. That's a good idea in terms of kind of how we're going to be able to market these once we have it actually
Yep.
on the list.
And a number of places on here are make the town prettier, blight removal, and on, and cleanup and expansion of beautification efforts. Should we try to target an area to figure out what needs to be done? You know, I think the weed cutting that we had done, you know, for the last few years on Route 28 made a huge difference.
Didn't get done last year.
It didn't get done last year, exactly.
Yeah, on that topic, we have Jeff Colby coming in at the next meeting on April 29th, and that will probably be one of the main discussion points.
Right.
You do have $20,000 that's in a line item for the beautification team that you could do something with, and you could, you know, condition the money however you'd like. So we'll give it to you, but if you clean up this section of town, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
And you know, Steve, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
Steve,
so
your question?
To follow up what Peter was just saying, Kyle, I'm wondering in advance of Jeff coming to the next, our next meeting, if we might be able to give him a heads up, some of the things that we're looking at, and then the spirit of what Peter was just saying, if Jeff has some ideas, in addition to all of us, we could think about bringing him to the meeting, but if he has some ideas where he thinks where in town, things aren't getting hit the way they should be hit in terms of cleanup, he see graffiti around that we don't see. So in other words, after talking with his staff, he gets some input from his staff relative to, hey, these are the areas we missed, but these are the areas that we need to get to as well. A, and B, what would he need in terms of staff to get that work done? And what would that cost to get that work done? That would, I think, facilitate our discussion with him in a better, more efficient way when he shows up.
I'll have him be prepared to kind of speak to the needs of the town and from a beautification team perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, just going back several years, you know, is the island on Willow Street that for a couple of years had daffodils planted or some other seasonal flowers and then some other things, and then it became too expensive to do it, and because we needed all kinds of police detail, which threw everybody's budget out. So, you know, I mean, that's a nice entry point for the town. And right now it's just weeds. You know, it'd be nice if we could put something there that's, you know, really low maintenance and stuff. Again, that's just my thought.
I think that whole area is probably going to get addressed when they redo Willow Street. So.
Yeah. And what are they going to do? Since we brought up beautification and streets, what are they going to do at, what is it, exit 4,850 or exit 8? You know what's going to go on there? Are they widening Station Avenue? I don't know whether that's Station Avenue there or Union Street. I never know.
Under the bridge, it's Union Street. Before that, it's Station Ave.
Right. So, Kyle, do you have any idea what's going on there?
Is that question directed towards me? Because I don't know. I don't know. Sorry.
I mean, it's more of an aside than anything else. So, yeah,
you can ask him at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think Ken's idea that we take this and do a meeting and do nothing but this and figure out and prioritize and figure out what exactly we can do and what we can't do and what we can get done. And I see that Joanne has just joined the meeting. So Joanne, thank you for coming.
Yeah. So on that note of that idea, Joanne, do you know when the visioning kind of results will be publicly available? When you guys will be presenting those?
We had a meeting last night to see the first summary of them that are in draft. And we're working towards a schedule of perhaps within the next 2 weeks, we'll have something that would be public out for committees and others that have contributed to get their best thinking on.
Perfect.
Peter, could we schedule the first meeting in May then to be nothing but,
Yep.
you know, the goals?
Excellent idea. Yep. Kyle, is that?
Yeah, no, I was just hoping that we'd kind of have the visioning thing to guide us before then, and it sounds like we will. So
We should have some good first draft, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. We did a lot of work last night and Kathy's got some additional work to do, so.
Right. Yeah, and Joanne, I didn't know whether you saw, because we had our goals and stuff up on the screen.
Yep, I saw it.
Okay, good. So yeah, so if we could schedule it for the first meeting, and if it looks like we're not going to have anything, maybe we take it to the second meeting in May. But if we can do it at the first, that'd be great.
All right, sounds good.
Right. What else is on the agenda?
Just minutes. Oh, updates from you guys first, and then just minutes.
Jack, any updates?
Really, nothing new. Everything is kind of in limbo. They did have a pro forma meeting on the communications tower that they're planning for Our Lady of the Highway. But that was just to open the process. There was nothing accomplished. And not done.
Right.
No,
Our Lady of the
not-
Highway, talking about expanding their steeple. Is that the idea?
Well, that came up earlier. I know we had it before Design Review Committee, and I'm thinking it was at least a year or maybe a year and a half ago. They were talking about that possibility and one behind the post office block there on the other side of the street, but nothing ever came of them. And this is coming back from that time, probably a few years back.
Okay.
But I'll keep you posted once the hearings start.
And Joanne?
We had a planning board meeting last evening. And again, we spent a good portion of it reviewing a first draft of vision, goals and objectives, and feedback from all of the meetings that we've had with the public. Kathy has put together a word cloud for both strengths and weaknesses, which is pretty nifty. I can share that with you. And what we're working on now is reorganizing the goals and objectives to focus on what we think is a more simplified approach of looking at Yarmouth as a place where people live, work, and play. And people who live here have different needs and interests than people who just work here, who have different interests and priorities than people who just visit here. And then we want to add in, because we think it's important, it's an important element that we sometimes overlook, is education. People learn here. We've got public schools and private schools. And even though we have more or less a hands-off approach because of the separation of the school committee, it still represents 30 to 40% of our annual budget. It's usually the most contentious articles at the annual town meeting for overrides and the like. So we want to, and it was raised by several of the constituents who we had the chance to speak with. So those are kind of the four primary areas, and we're trying to merge all of that with some of the requirements that the Cape Cod Commission requires that a long-term comprehensive plan, an LCL needs to have. So we're working on putting all those things together so we can get some kind of a draft document out for reaction. We need some reaction and some feedback. It will be by no means final. The other two items on the agenda were property related to property disposition. But one thing that has come up on the side, and I'd like to make a suggestion, not sure if it's appropriate or not, but the Land Disposition Committee for the town is now relatively active, and they are looking at various parcels of property for disposition by the town. And so, Tom Barron is our representative on that committee. I don't know if anyone from this committee is on that. Is anyone on this committee on that, Kyle?
No, but I'm the staff
No.
person for the
You
land.
are the staffer there. So am I right? There are some things that seem to be brewing there.
Yeah,
I
I don't
saw a
know if you
couple
missed the
memos.
discussion. I think you might have missed it. We are going to invite Rick Bishop to a future meeting to kind of coordinate efforts between CEDC and land disposition on potential, marketing of commercially viable properties in
Oh,
town.
I'm sorry. Is he head of that now?
Rick Bishop is the chairman. Yep.
Okay, so okay, I thought he was Conservation Commission, but that changed. I'm
He's the
sorry.
Conservation Commission appointee to the Land Disposition Committee, so he's on both.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, sorry to have been late.
Yeah, no problem.
But it has been some talk back and forth among even the planning board members as to, there are some, large parcels that we just want to know more about. So that's it for me.
So when Rick comes, or Jim, or both, we're going to hint of which properties they're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I can, there's a list on the website right now of the town foreclosure properties. The town owns a lot more than just the town foreclosure properties thing.
Right.
So, I mean, I can show you that list right now if you want.
But there are some that various committees have taken some moves on, right? That's the note you sent on the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yeah, so basically we started by trying to respond to the request the town has. So, for instance, next week we're responding to the request at parcel 9952, which is off Old Townhouse Road. For a couple of different people requested that. So, because we have requests, we're kind of going through the motions to evaluate the viability of disposal of those properties. But eventually we're hoping to get to the point where, I'm just pulling up the foreclosure list.
Right. This is not on the agenda per se.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Good
it's-
point.
Yeah, Kyle, why don't we have this when when we invite Rick to the meeting, or
Yep.
Jim comes? Can you get us that list prior to the meeting so we can study it up, and then
Yeah,
we can
absolutely.
have that as part of our discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping to get it cleaned up a little bit before then too.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't mean to cut off the discussion, but open meeting and
No.
got it straight and narrow.
Yep.
Consider me Caesar's wife. Kyle, do I need to explain that to you, or did you understand that?
you know what? I don't need it explained to me.
The only other item that, again, a suggestion, not sure if anyone's interested, but the planning board did take the action of, we wrote a letter under my signature, but it was from all, to the new town administrator. And we sent along some informational material, obviously put together by Kathy, and welcoming him and inviting him to a meeting at his earliest convenience.
And
So I don't know,
that's
Mr.
a-
Chair, if that's something you would like to do or not, but we did, and
That's
was
an
pretty well received.
excellent idea,
it
Julian.
was an excellent idea.
Has he started?
Mhm. Yes, he was
Yeah,
at
he was
the.
supposed to start April 1 or April 2nd, something like that.
Yeah,
Started on
Started
Monday.
Monday.
Started Monday.
He actually attended the chamber board meeting back in February.
Mhm.
Oh, good.
And he was very engaging with the board, had a lot of questions for us. So that was really great to see someone coming right in. He had really pointed questions for us. So I think he's going to be great.
Excellent.
Good.
Joanne, and any other updates?
Nope.
Steve?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief. I just want to let everyone know, I've been working with Mary. Mary was kind enough to, just by way of background, you recall last meeting, I raised this think a little bit about finding nip bottles all over the place on my walks around the town here, and not wanting to be punitive about this thing, but take a more proactive approach. I did reach out with Mary. Mary was kind enough to share with me a contact from the town of Mashpee to see what the town is doing in terms of, litter patrol and cleaning up nip bottles. We all know that they've gone to the extreme of putting a ban on nip bottles, but I did reach out with the Chamber of Mary's contact, her counterpart up there, who was kind enough to share with me a contact of another lady who's works from the, who owns and operates a liquor store in town. And she is taking the initiative upon herself and working with some other cleanup groups to become more of an influence in the town in terms of cleaning up. So she's, by way of flyers and stickers and cleanup organizations that she's working with, taking more proactive approach so that in years' time or 2 years' time, she can go back to the town and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Do we really need this being? So I'm gonna do more work with Mary on this as we go forward, and I'll keep you posted as what we're doing. So
I
thank you.
I know a number of my customers, former customers, own various liquor stores around and stuff, and their margins on the nip bottles are some of the greatest that they've got of all their liquor. So, you know, I hate the litter, and I absolutely agree with Steve, but it's really hard if you're going to take their highest profit margin out, especially in the wintertime. They're barely making it in the wintertime. In the summertime, they do just fine, but in the wintertime, they're just scraping by, just like everybody else in this seasonal economy.
Well, Steve's not advocating banning them. I think he's advocating.
No, he's not, but he mentioned that Mashpee has gone through and said,
I would. That's not going to stand up. They've already challenged him that, so
right,
it won't stand up as a local bylaw.
right.
Yeah.
What Steve is proposing that Mashpee is doing, even at the liquor stores, is like something as simple as a sticker on the bags. When people are leaving, like to be thoughtful about how you're disposing of the nip bottles, right?
Right.
It's just like, it's an educational campaign
Mhm.
that we need to put in front of the consumer that, you know, they need to be responsible.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I
if
totally
we-
agree, Mary. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying that the Mashpee law, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's Peabody, Mass. Also is another town around Boston that has banned them also. And now the liquor industry is stepping in, saying, we're not going to stand for it anymore. And they're actually challenging it at the state level, saying that these laws they're not enforceable. So.
Right. And Steve found out that the nip bottles were 20% of their sales.
Hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So we're not here to do anything like that. We're just talking about education.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
In my former life in the great state of California, what they did with some of the fast food places and liquor stores, where they were responsible for liquor cleanup, roughly 1 mile radius around their business, and it definitely they went and started to really lay on their customers and make sure that there were garbage bins around so that stuff could get picked up instead of just thrown in the trash. I mean, thrown in the trash, thrown on the side of the road.
Yep.
And that got challenged and in court, and the city of San Francisco, the city of Oakland, the city of Berkeley, city of Hayward, and I can name a few others, all won when they went to court. And you know that it's California, not Massachusetts. But I would think if it's a product that you're selling, you got to be responsible for the end use of it as well.
And that makes sense. But to restrain trade, free trade in
No.
this country is crazy. So.
Right.
No.
No, I'm not suggesting that we
And I don't drink nips. Just so let's let it be.
No, it's not the punitive approach, Ken, that we're going after. It's more positive approach,
Right.
more active.
I mean, I personally, I'd be in favor, not that it works tremendously well, but it does work, is put a 5-cent bottle bill on it,
Brad,
If somebody wants them that bad, have them pay an extra nickel for it, and maybe, hopefully somebody can make a few bucks picking them up,
Yeah. Right. And that's another approach, quite frankly, I hope this group can take and push the town selectmen and maybe work in a regional approach to get our our state reps and state senators on board and say, hey, where is this legislation? Because it is kicking around up in the state house there someplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know every few years there's a new bottle bill around to either increase the deposit and or increase the number of items that are on there. And I know my good friends at Stop and Shop, et cetera, have always put up a ton of money to get those things defeated.
Right.
And I got a nickel deposit on this, and I've got some other things that are in the same can, but they're not carbonated, and they
Right.
go in the trash. But it's the
Right.
same piece of aluminum.
Right.
But Steve, anything you can do on a positive basis to get some of those folks to, not throw the stuff out the side of the road. And we're close to the season, and I'm already starting to see Bud Light cans thrown in the woods, water bottles thrown in the woods, etc. I mean, it's every summer. It's disgusting, and all winter long, you're right. It's the nip bottles.
Yeah.
And I walk in Nickerson Park, and I and other places. I usually carry a bag with me to pick up trash as I walk along. Just pick it up and take it out of there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's
Anything
all.
else on the agenda? Mr. Cobb, do you have any updates for us?
Just real quick, the town is still working through the wastewater planning. It doesn't look like DHY is gonna be on the Springtown meeting warrant because Harwich and Dennis are dragging their feet on the topic. It's looking like, Yarmouth might have its stand force that if, Dennis and Harwich don't make a decision by a certain time, probably by fall town meeting, Yarmouth's just gonna have to go alone because the escalating costs and the inflation costs and the fact that we need to coordinate with Mass DOT on the construction projects to save a lot of money mean that we have to get going.
Right.
It's unfortunate. I'm as a Dennis resident, I'm like very upset that the town of Dennis is just pushing it off and saying, oh, we couldn't do enough outreach and da 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 da. That's a crock of what, because you can do more outreach on virtual format. We've been doing DHY planning for 3 freaking years now. So this is very frustrating on a regional level, but yeah, that's just an update on wastewater planning.
That's
Also,
pretty sad. That's really sad, Kyle, to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been going on since the dawn of time here in the Cape of Getting Surge,
Yep.
Orleans is doing it now. Chatham's already done parts of their town. We need to get our act together. We
And
really
it seems
do.
like there are still some people in like the town of Dennis specifically who think that it's still an option to not go forward with wastewater. It's not an option to do nothing. If we do nothing, we're going to get sued and we're going to have a court-ordered wastewater plan. So
Yep.
just putting your head in your sand
And
if
then-
you think
and
that
then watch 'em stop
wastewater
it.
is not an inevitability. So
Also, your good friend Uncle Sam there's a bill that's passed in the
Yep.
House and pending in the Senate,
Yep.
which provide a lot of cheap money for this kind of stuff. So
But you got to be ready to go.
got to be
Right.
ready to go, and it's not necessarily head in the sand; it's head somewhere else. In addition, that Dennis thinks they can get away with it. FEMA's also talking about redoing the flood maps again, and there was a lot of political push in Harwich and in Dennis, and essentially anything south of Route 28 is going to be either in an A zone or it's going to be in a V zone. In the 54 hurricane, and the 39 hurricane, and the 44 hurricane, the 54 I remember, the water went right up to the columns. And you know where the columns is, Kyle, right? The water was right up to Route 28, right there. And the water table there is about 2 inches underground. It's
Right.
almost as bad in some places, and some place worse than some of the cottages that we have in West Yarmouth, where the water table is 2 to 3 feet below the surface, literally. Campers Haven. This is public information. This is nothing that you couldn't look up. Campers Haven, which is on Old Wharf Road. Their septic system is essentially pipes above ground, and they're pumping it away from the sound up into leach fields, which are I'm surprised they got it approved a few years ago by the health department in the great city of Dennis. So that's my second rant for the day. Sorry about that.
Well, that's all I got for updates. The only other thing is minutes.
Okay, has everyone read the minutes?
I have.
And anyone care to make a motion on the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Steve has made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ken has seconded it. Are there any further questions? Seeing no hands. Steve?
Yes, yes, I approve, yes.
I'm sorry.
No.
Mary?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes,
Joanne?
Yes,
Ken?
Yes.
Peter? Yes. Motion carries. So the agenda is pretty much set for the next meeting, correct?
Yeah, it's going to be discussion with Jeff Colby, DPW Director.
Yep.
On a few different topics.
Oh, perfect. Steve, yes?
Kyle, can he just give us an update too on what's going on with the geotech study on the town common?
Oh yeah, that's definitely one of the topics we're going to be talking about with him.
Good, thanks.
Kyle, can he also give us an update on the DPW building itself? You know,
Yeah,
where that's
I'm
at?
sure he'd be happy to. Yep.
Okay.
Mary?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
There a second?
I'll second it. I gotta
Right.
run.
Right. Steve?
Yes, aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Joanne?
yes.
Jack?
yes.
Ken?
Yes, and goodbye. Thank you,
Peter?
everybody.
Yes. Yeah, motion
Ken.
carries. Again, thank you. And